I've known myself for a while, about 27 years, and I'm very sentimental, and I'm very um, following my grandpa. I became a truck driver in 2018, and it was when I got my CDL, and it's for the heritage aspect, and I was really awed by seeing the trucks that he drove, which were the W900s for paving, and the belly dumps. I thought it was the best experience whenever we would go in Colorado on those roads over there. I thought it was experiencing it, hearing the diesel, the cat or the Cummins engines that they picked for that spec and situation of driving was phenomenal. Seeing the gates open and making noises and all that, I thought it was interesting. And he had a very interesting life before he drove. He was in the military. He was in, not only was he in the Army, he was in the Navy. He was a amateur boxer, and retirement, that was an easy thing for him to do. And he was a truck driver. I guess that was the best career, which in that time, when he was, the prime of that era. Now it's 2025, almost halfway through the year. It's still a prominent industry, and it's still necessary to continue to have capable and thoughtful drivers to avoid making complacent errors like driving while fatigued, road rage, and a thoughtful person who's going to go and be dedicated for 12 to 14 hours per day, not only just driving, but during an inspection of the vehicle, look it over, make sure everything's good, and none of those things should be taken for granted at all. And the biggest impedance and the biggest threat has always been the DOT and the Department of Transportation pressing the drivers to adhere to whatever their standards are, whatever their judgment are, and effectively it's been them using the trucking industry's wealth and money generating capabilities to enforce ridiculous procedures and ridiculous things that can be violated, like to have all the white lights working, all the no phrase or any of that crap. And the insurance industry also is an impedance too, because the truck drivers are liable because, again, they have money in almost any accident situation. And here we are with these smart AI cameras that only go off not when you're doing a good job, but they'll go off when you do something deemed by the programmed features the camera provides as a violation. For instance, if you yawn, it'll go off. If you do the main thing, change the radio station from the phone, anything that is normal for a car driver to do, who doesn't necessarily have to have the camera sitting up front facing them, is not required to do it, because they're not generating any income really for it to make any difference to the public around them. you know, you can see that the officers promised to enforce texting while driving, but it's, I don't agree with it being it. My boss before, every time he saw me had a phone in his hand because he was doing important things, is he was able to utilize it wherever he was to do the job that he needed to do over the phone, and his contacts and his networking and whatever he had to do. He was on the phone. It didn't matter if he was driving or not. He got it done. It's pretty, there's a lot of onboard connectivity interfaces like the CarPlay and all that and such that you can use. However, it's obvious that the trucks are equipped with those things, and the companies are forcing the drivers to adhere to it, not for the sake of safety. The FMCSA and all those other organizations your safety isn't in their best interests when it comes to anybody who's in control. The reason I'm making such a claim like that is because if you use deductive reasoning or think about things objectively, then you would, as a realist, you would come to realize that it's due to control measures, not due to objectifiable safety practices. That, for instance, guns don't kill people. It's the misuse and the weaponization of a gun and any sort of knife or anything like that to turn into a threat or turn into a weapon. It's not the person. It's not the gun that's has a mind of its own going around shooting people. It's obviously it's the person. Man has always been the most dangerous, threatening species in existence. And it's the truth. But now we're at in an era where with the technology for trucking especially, is those things, those controls and all of those are pressing, obviously, not to keep the highways safer. It's to get the trucks set up so they can be autonomously driven, and that career is replaced at least within 25 years or less. And what's practices that they've implemented, not just with the AI cameras that you will experience with your company. It's none of the I showed how I was able to put the amplifier into the truck and do that. That's because none of them come with like special packages for comfort for the driver, like radio or amplifiers, because they're not, the engineers aren't tuned into that, because they're more focused on how are we going to replace the driver and make it autonomous, because that's what the main focus is with all the AI. It's not for the comfort of the driver anymore, even though we're completely necessary and needed still. It's which, you know, you can expect that could be replaced. Me coming into it in 2018, 2019, they were just not as enforcing the cameras that were impeding me and whoever else did it or does do it. So all those comfort packages that could be used and make it more relaxing and more enjoyable for the driver, or even a seat interior stuff that they could do for us, they're always going to manufacture it for the sake of whatever regulations or controls that are being implemented to satisfy them rather than satisfy us, and which is complete corruption. because we're not to the point where we're replaceable yet. So that's a big upfront to anybody who's ever driven. You know, you can think about the trucker's prayer song. Well, now is a different type of reason to sit down and think about us, not just to be safe on the road, but, you know, mentally, and the draining, stressful stuff that we're having to put up with. Not only the weight stations and scales, which have been enforceable since the industry's been the industry, but the ridiculous and copious impedance of all the cameras and stuff that, you know, I can sit there and I can do it and drive for the 12 hours or whatever, and I'm constantly thinking, well, I'm doing something where I'm going to be micromanaged by somebody who's in the office jerking off somewhere else to tell me to call me over the phone to tell me not to be on the fucking phone. It's retarded. It's every word is pretty despicable. It's pretty disrespectful to have some faggot over there in the fucking office telling me, who's probably never even seen a truck before, has never been inside one, how to fucking adhere to their cameras that say that I have violations. Well, I don't have any violations. I don't have any tickets. So what are you talking about? All of those things that I was talking to you about for freedom, where I have this nice thing in this car and I have an amplifier for the radio, etc., and I don't have to really focus on the mechanics of it or know anything else about it. You can rest assured that now with electronic vehicles and everything, eventually you're going to be restricted to how far you can go, or outside of your city or whatever. You can best believe that that's what's so concerning about all the implementations in the industry for trucking. That's why it's so in my head about it. Be a deductive reasoning and logical and thoughtful person that can tell you that it's pretty corrupt. And you can best believe that I did do farming before. I've done all kinds of stuff before, and I can tell you that if they could do that to them and threaten it that way onto that industry too, they would. They could do it to any reason, for any control that they want, whether it's for safety concerns or whatever reason that they make up to have it and impede it onto you. Because people are individuals, and when you have all of them cameras and stuff in there, you know, and then you have some, like I said, some piece of shit in some safety appointed person to watch over you like he's Jesus or whatever, you know, it's essentially the most corrupt and disrespectful practice that they can do, to have somebody who thinks that they're Jesus telling you with the AI and stuff and telling you all that, and, you know, micromanaging you to the point where, you know, you've got like a bubble wrap fucking suit on just to fucking sit there and drive. Really, it's not necessary. None of those things are quantifiably or objectively making it safer for everybody else. It's all bullshit. And when you go on and you hear stuff about the Matrix is attacking and stuff, I absolutely agree. I absolutely 100% have felt it in this industry, and especially since I've done this for inheritance purposes, or rather the heritage purposes, to continue on. You know, I'm so irately angry to see it and everybody else be taken advantage of who does this job. And there's going to absolutely be more to come on this. This is just an introduction. Thanks. Goodbye.